Evening, আজি আমি পঢ়িম এপছ যোৱা ক্লাছত আমি এপছলৈকে আহিছিলোঁ অৰ্ডাৰ যোনটো প্ৰাইমেট আমি ডিছকাছ কৰি তো এপছ কৰাৰ আগতে যোৱা যোনটো আমি শ্লাইড এটা পঢ়ি আছিলোঁ শ্লাইড এবাৰ দেখাই ল'বা চ' এই যোনটো আমি শ্লাইডত পঢ়ি আছিলোঁ প্ৰাইমেট তো তেনেহ'লে মনত ৰাখিব লাগিব তুমি মনত কৰি ল'বা বস্তুটো লিখি লিখি প্ৰেক্টিছ কৰিবা অৰ্ডাৰ প্ৰাইমেট বুলি চাব অৰ্ডাৰ প্ৰজিমা এন্থ্ৰপইডিয়া শ্বেয়াৰ কৰা আছে শ্বেয়াৰ কৰিম So, suborder Anthropology বুলি কয় আৰু প্ৰজিমাই এটা তোমালোকে পঢ়িব নোৱাৰে এক্সামত ভালকৈ মনত ৰাখিব লাগিব প্ৰজিমাই আমি চাইছিলোঁ তিনিটা অৰ্ডাৰ কালি নৰ্মেলি কি ইউপিএছচিতে হৈ মানে ইউপিএছচিত এটা চান্স অলপ কম আছে বাট ষ্টিল এনা চাই থ'বা এতিয়া যেতিয়া টাইম আছে যেতিয়া then Anthropoidea Catarrhine and Catarrhine we have seen the differences between the new world monkey and old world primates within the old world primates we have talked about the old world monkey that is Sarcopithecus mostly তোমালোক কি আহিব ডিফাৰেন্সেস বিটুইন নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড এন্ড ওল্ড ওয়ার্ল্ড বেসিক বস্তু জানিলে হ'ব নিজে বনাই লিখিব পাৰি আনসাৰটো আৰু আমি আজি ডিসকাস কৰিম আমি লাস্ট টাইম we have discussed about the super family old world monkey and today we are going to discuss about the super family hominoidea so within this hominoidea family we have three families one is Hylobetida Pongida and Hominida these are the three families we are going to discuss so hominid to আমরা বেলেগকে পঢ়াম বড় হিউম্যান জন্য মডার্ন ম্যান যেটো হয়তো বেলেগকে পঢ়াম আজি আমি ডিসকাস কৰিম Hylobetida and Pongida এটা বহুত ডাঙৰ চেপ্টাৰ হয় here in this class we are going to discuss about the features physical features and behavioral features of gibbons chimpanzee orangutan and gorilla so here we apes of some I want to talk about apes the apes broadly can be classified into two groups one is Hylobetida and one is Pongida there are two families one is Hylobetida and Pongida within Hylobetida there are many other apes also there within Hylobetida but we consider gibbons under Hylobetida family Hylobetida so we are going to talk about gibbons under the family of Hylobetida and within the family of Pongida we are going to talk about chimpanzee gorillas and orangutans most of the basic features are the same in all these apes but there are some differences in the body for example gibbon is the smallest one very small in size and the chimpanzee gorilla orangutan among them gorilla is the very stoutest or you can say the strongest one gorilla much bigger than all other apes including human beings and their height also very high their height it reaches up to 6 feet if they try to stand in semi erect posture so within Pongida we have the chimpanzee gorilla and orangutan now we are going to see the anatomical traits anatomical and body part anatomical traits into apes and if we talk about their walking behavior they have a limited bipedal walking the walking is heavy but tomato bipedal হয় কিন্তু লিমিটেড হয় অলপ দেই কেনে খুচিয়া পারে bipedal আমাদের আমি কন্টিনিউয়াসলি যাব নৰে ফর এক্সাম্পল ইয়াত আমি দেখা চাও পাছ অকন bipedal walk কৰাৰ মানে তা ভৰিপত খুচকাৰটা ভৰিপত but it is very limited and we call it semi erect posture semi erect posture মানে কি বহুত বেছি দেলৈকে এক্স্যাক্টলি থিয় হ'ব নৰে অকন বেকাকা থাকিব না vertical না হ'ব নৰে অলপ দেই কেনে উঠিব খুচকাইব পাৰিব এটা আমি কম limited bipedal walking যোনটো আমি কম semi erect posture completely erect নহয় মানে if we talk about their thumb they have a very limited precision grip thumb বলা বস্তু যোনটো হ'ব না আঙুলিবোৰ এটা আঙুলি লেখাছো এই আঙুলিবোৰ চাও যদি অলপ বহুত দূৰত থাকে অপোজিট থাকে গিবনছ হ'ব বেছি হেৰি নহয় বাৰু বাট ষ্টিল বাকিবোৰ মানে কি সৰু হয় থাম্বৰ এটা থাম্বৰ সৰু হয় কিন্তু ধৰিবৰ কাৰণে ইমান সহায় নকৰে এই থাম্বৰ সৰু হয় ৰিজনটো কেলে হয় হেৰি যেতিয়া গছৰ ডালত যেতিয়া জাম্প মাৰে তেতিয়া সেই থাম্বটো যদি আগত আহি নেৰে তেতিয়া আগত যদি আহি যায় তেতিয়া মানে কি এক্সিডেন্ট হোৱাৰ চান্স থাকিব সাইডে যদি আঙুলি আছে দীঘলকে সাইড আঙুলি থাকিব লগতে থাম্বটো এনেকৈ থাকিব সৰুকে কেন থাকিব থাম্বটো সৰুকে যেতিয়া হেৰি মানে জাম্প মাৰে জাম্প মাৰোতে এক সাইড আঙুলি ব্যৱহাৰ কৰে এটা ডালৰ পৰা বেলেগ ডালটো জাম্প মাৰোতে উলমিবৰ কাৰণে এই থাম্বটো যদি দীঘল হয় নহয় এটো মানে যদি আগত আহি যায় তেতিয়া হেতে পৰি যোৱাৰ চান্স থাকিব পাৰে এই থাম্বটো কেনে সৰু থাকে নৰমালি so short thumbs they have, and thumb has a very limited precision grip mostly in baki four finger hoy heti mane ki precision mane grip pura kaam to kore hete and we can find a ridges of bone eto hoy jeno bone da person mein supra orbital ridge boli koi eto ko supra orbital ridge am jese pathi mein to ठीक से है supra orbital ridge So we can find a ridge of bone directly above the eyes. Directly চকুৰ পৰা পাম এইটো bones-টো আৰু এই যে পঞ্জিত বুলি কৈছো পঞ্জিত বা পঞ্জিতিয়া যেটো মানে কি গিবন বাদ দি পেলাই যেটো বাকিৰ পৰা আমি চিম্পাঞ্জি ওৰাংউটান গৰিলা হেটো মানে কি ফৰহেড নাথাকে ডাইৰেক্টলি পিছফালে মানে স্লোপিং কৰিছে আপোনাৰ আমি যদি জকাটো চাওঁ স্কালটো চাওঁ যদি ইয়াতে পাম এনেকৈ ডাইৰেক্টলি ষ্ট্ৰেট গৈছে মানে কি এই ফৰহেডটো নাপাওঁ হেটো আমি ফৰহেডটো হেতে ওৰাংউটান ৰকম পাওঁ আমি বাকি ইয়াত নাপাওঁ বাকি মানে এফটো আমি ফৰহেড নাপাওঁ ফৰহেডটো ভালকে ডেভেলপ হৈছে কত হিউম্যান বিংছতে ডেভেলপ হৈছে যদি আমি এটা ফিচাৰ চালো আমি চকুৰ ওপৰত এটা ৰিজ থাকে ডাঙৰ এটা বনৰ ষ্ট্ৰাকচাৰ থাকে সুপ্ৰাঅৰ্বিটাল ৰিজ বুলি কয় ৱৰ্ডটো আমি পিছত পাম বাৰু along with that what we have observed that they do not have a forehead নাথাকে এটা ধ্যান ৰাখিবা সব বস্তুটো ইমান মনত ৰাখিব দিগদাৰ তোমালে কি কৰিব লাগিব সদায় এটা কমন সেন্স ল'ব লাগিব যদি গোটেইখিনি পঢ়িবা তোমালোকে when you study the different apes then we have to see the common features what are the similarities and what are the differences and based on that we can remember the points and it will be easy for us to memorize at a time of examination we can recall the points very easily so এটাকে আমি মন নাৰাখো আমি সাম মানে কি ওভাৰঅল গ্ৰুপত চাম আমি ওভাৰঅল গ্ৰুপত চালে কি গম পাম মানে নরমালি the apes and especially the ponzids they lack a forehead নাথাকে and if you talk about the teeth গোটেইখিনি আমি যদি কম গোটেইখিনি যদি আমি এপছৰ কথা কওঁ কাৰণ হেতু বনাই মেলি নাখায় হেতু কুকিং কৰিব নোৱাৰে হেতু প্ৰেছাৰ কুকাৰটো ইউজ নকৰে তো হেকাৰণে খানাটো যদি বহুত হাৰ্ড হ'ব বহুত ৰাফ হ'ব আৰু যদি মানুহে গছৰ হেৰি থাকিব পাত চাত এইবোৰ থাকিব ডাঙৰ ডাঙৰ ফ্ৰুটছো হ'ব পাৰে হেভি হেৰি হ'ব পাৰে হেকাৰণে কি হয় হেকাৰণে their teeth are specialized so that they can eat massive quantities of fruits and vegetables the raw fruits and vegetables normally they eat a very massive quantity of raw fruits and vegetables and for that they need to have very specialized teeth and if we talk about the canine is very large and projecting the canine to ulai thake bahut damor hoy so canine teeth eto upor to hoy tolor to hoy they have a large and projecting canine teeth damor aru ulai thake bahikala and this canine teeth is used to open fruit strip plants এগুলো হয় কিহৰ কাৰণে ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিব যেনেকৈ আমি ষ্টন টুলবোৰ কেনে ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিছিলো আমি আগতে কাটা চিঙা কৰিব কাৰণে তেনেকৈ হেতি দাঁত ব্যৱহাৰ কৰে কাৰণ এটি ষ্টন টুল বনাব পৰা নাই হাতৰ ইভলিউশন হোৱা নাই বা কালচাৰ ডেভেলপমেন্ট হোৱা নাই সো দে আৰ গোইং টু ইউজ देयर টিথ টু ওপেন ফ্ৰুটস এন্ড stripping plants and their jaw the jaw to হয় jaw is very massive this jaw you can see it is very massive যত বহুত ডাঙৰ হয় massive কিয় হয় মানে বহুত চুৱাব লাগিব মানে they have to chew a lot of raw vegetables fruits all those things so we can find a very massive jaw and then jute forward akle ulai thakato hoy mane akle ulai thake enake ulai ase jetu jute forward and the hold heavy teeth and support the chewing of bulky food gom paisa tumaloke eta jaw to dangor hoy mukhon dangor hoy reason to ki karon bahut chubabo lage heti bahut bulky food heavy food to hoy if you talk about their self simian self eta kome mane mukhar upaparto the simian self eto goy self simian mane ami ka kau ami gorilla orangutan ami ekelage simian boli kau e upaparto ami kau bony jonto structure to hobo a bony simian self they have a very large cheekbone gom pasa tomalke jodi cheekbone ta bone thake to amar jodi iman dangor nohoy kintu hetor beshi dangor hoy large cheekbones sagittal crest ka koy this is the sagittal crest etu hoy sagittal crest amar mane ki ei jonto gorilla hoy orangutan ebor hetor mane murokota dangor eta bone eta thake uthi thake eta so eta bone eta uthi thake e bone to thoka reason ki yat mane ki beshi muscle attach hobo paribo bone thoka mean to ki bone to jodi beshi thake ar jeta rough area paয় তাতে মানে কি বেছি মাসল অ্যাটাচমেন্ট কৰিব পাৰে আৰু ইয়াৰ কাৰণে আমি দেখো আমি যদি গৰিলা চাওঁ গৰিলা কি পাম মুখখন বহুত বেছি ডাঙৰ হয় মুখখন বহুত বেছি ডাঙৰ মানে কি মুখত বহুত মাসল আছে এই মাসলবোৰ যোনটো হয় মাসলবোৰ অ্যাটাচ হৈ থাকিব পাৰে অ্যাটাচ হৈ থাকিব মাসলবোৰ সেইকাৰণে আমি যদি কাইরকম সেজিটাল ক্রেস্ট বুলি পাম এটা আমি সুপ্রা অরবিটাল রিজ বুলি কয় রিজটো আমি সুপ্রা অরবিটাল রিজ আমি এটা কোন সেজিটাল ক্রেস্ট থাকে ডাঙৰ থাকে আৰু মোস্টলি মেলত বেছিকে পাওঁ আমি it helps in anchoring strong chewing muscle যেটা মই jaw muscle এগুলো মেটো হয় mandible এগুলো যেটা পার্ট হয় তো এত বান্ধি থাকে মানে lower brain has to body weight যদি আমি কম্পেয়ার করি হিউম্যানছৰ লগত বাকিবোৰ প্ৰাইমেটৰ বেছি হ'ব brain size to body ratio, but compared to humans, the brain size to body ratio is lower. And in case of humans, the brain size to body weight ratio is higher, and we have the most complex cortical structure, that is brain. Brain into the cortical cartilage, mogos into common. Now we're going to talk about one by one each and every apes. First, starting from gibbons. So gibbons to আমি অসমতো পাওঁ আমাৰ gibbonsৰ এটা wildlife sanctuary আছে যোৰহাটৰ ওচৰত তো এটা gibbons যোনটো হয় gibbons টো বৰ বেছি ডাঙৰ নহয় ইয়াক আমি দেখো হাইলোবেটিডাত পাওঁ if you talk about gibbon so তোমালোকে example আহিব পাৰে write about the Asiatic apes এনেকা আহিব পাৰে example write a note on Asiatic apes এনেকা আহিব পাৰে আৰু কেতিয়া আহিব পাৰে write a note on African apes এটা আমি কি জানিব লাগিব কোনকিটা apes আমি আফ্ৰিকাত পাওঁ কোনকিটা আমি এছিয়াত পাওঁ if you remember or if you can understand what are the apps that we can find in Asia and what are the apps we find in Africa, then only we can write the answers. So directly they may not ask you that write the features, physical features of gibbon. They may ask you write the features of Asiatic apps. So for that you have to understand, or you have to know that in Asia we find gibbon. So we are going to write about gibbons, and later we are going to see in Africa what are the other apps we can find. If you talk about gibbon, they are the smallest one. And where we find them, gibbon mostly, it starts from northeastern part of India. And the countries mostly you can find among the Indonesian islands, then again Philippines and southern China islands. The southern China and nearby islands. এইবোৰ জায়গা যোনটো তুমি এছিয়াত আমি পাওঁ তো এইটো অকল এছিয়াটিক এপছ বুলি কম আফ্ৰিকাত নাপাওঁ আমি তো এছিয়াটিক এপছ বুলি যদি কেতিয়াবা আহিব if they ask you to write a note on Asiatic apps, so you have to write about gibbon. There are in gibbon we can find 12 different varieties. Belaruton is sub the color common difference from black otaga, private and anaka, course is into gray color, brown color form. There are around 12 varieties of gibbon we can find around the world, and if, of course we find around the world means we can find them in Asia. And if you talk about the height do not exit, it do not exit 3 feet, and their weight is also very less, 11 to 15 pounds. 1 pound is equal to almost 0.44 kg. So it is very small, the weight is very small. And if you talk about a sexual dimorphism, what is the meaning of sexual dimorphism? Sexual dimorphism means if you can observe the differences between male and female. Just by observing the animals, if you can say which one is male and which one is female, we call it sexual dimorphism. It may be based on physical features, body size, etc. But in case of gibbons, we cannot recognize which one is male and female directly observing them. So we can say this: there is no sexual dimorphism with regard to size. And if you talk about their body part, and we can find they are covered with very fine woolly hair. And it is not coarse hair. There is a difference between coarse hair and woolly hair. Woolly hair it will be soft, and the coarse hair will be a little bit hard to touch. So here in other apps we can find mostly coarse hair, but in case of gibbon we find woolly hair, and the color may be white, gray, and black. So there are different colors of gibbon we can find. So normally if they stand, sometimes they can stand in a semi-erect posture. You can see here their hand is very long compared to their legs. The hand is very long. It touches the ground when they try to stand up. At times they can stand erect, but arms are excessively long in comparison to legs. You can see that the arms are very long. So this long arm actually helpful in the arboreal lifestyle, or in swinging from tree to tree, holding the branches. So these long hands are very much helpful if they want to live an arboreal life. And during erect positions, we can find the finger tip touches the ground. So we can say that the hands are very long compared to their legs. And of course, they have very arboreal adaptations. They live in trees, in the forest area. Their forearms, in the forearm, actually, we have two bones. We call it radius and ulna. We'll be talking about the bones later. But here, for the time being, we have to just understand there are in the forearm, we can find two types of different bones. One is a radius, one is ulna. And these two bones in the forearms, they are very much elongated. Since they are elongated, that's why their forearm is very long. If you talk about their hand, you can see the hand here, it is long, very long, right? Their hand is very long and narrow also. And if you see the thumb, it is very short thumb. And normally what we can observe in other apes that they are perfectly opposable. The thumb is, including human beings, the thumb is perfectly opposable, means we can touch each and every finger with the help of the thumb. But here in case of gibbon, it is not perfectly opposable, means gibbon cannot touch perfectly each and every finger with the help of the thumb. If we talk about other features, like they can swing on the branches freely, free swing like a pendulum motions, pendulum of a clock, like a pendulum. It looks like a pendulum of a clock. They can freely swing because of their very long hand. And if you talk about the toe at the feet, in the feet we can find greater toe. The great toe, it is far apart from the other digits, grasping branches. If we talk about the toe, it is like, suppose this is just like this. This is the fingers and the four fingers, and the toe actually in human beings it looks like this. It is not opposable. Our toe is not opposable, but in case of apes, they are opposable like this. In this part, we can find their toes. This is the index finger for them, and toe is here. Since it is very much far away from the other fingers, it can be useful. It is very far apart, right? So it can be very much useful for grasping the branches. We cannot use our feet to hold or grasp anything, but the apes and monkeys, they can use their feet also to grasp the branches because it is far apart from the other fingers. If you talk about their head, it is large one. Normally, compared to their body size, the head is large, but the facial part is small. The facial part you can see compared to the head is small. The head is very large. Head is large. They have a very large brain case, and in comparison to face, if you try to compare with the face is small, but the brain case is very large, and their face is almost flat. They have a very broad nose compared to their face. Okay, their nose is little bit broad. And again, lips, we can find in every apps, their lips are always thin. In all the apps, we can write down this common feature, that is thin lips. Then again, if you see the forehead is very low, almost absent you can find. Or if it is there, it is very low. And if you talk about the eyes, the place where the eye sockets, this is the eye socket. Eye socket means the area, the hole where the eyes are present. The eyes are very large compared to, means the eyes compared to the face, actually you can say the eyes are large, and because of that we can find the eye socket is also large, and it is oval in shape. The socket is oval in shape. Oval means like an egg. Okay, oval in shape. Canine, you can see very large canine. All of them, all the apes, they have a large canine, excluding human beings. In the primate order, we can find all of them. They possess a very good or large canine. If you talk about temporal area, this is the temporal area. I have shown the skull of a human being only, but just to show the area of temporal area. This is called temporal area, and here the muscles that are attached are known as temporal muscles. These are temporal muscles. And this is the parietal area. This is the frontal part, frontal bone, zygomatic bone. We'll be talking about this part later. Don't worry if you are not getting these things about the bone part. I'm just trying to show you the temporal part here. In this part, the temporal muscles are attached. And here also in gibbon also you can find here also in gibbon, in this part, temporal muscles are attached here. It is very rough actually. The temporal area is very rough. And this roughness, it helps. It is an advantage actually. If we can find more roughness on the skull, more muscles can be attached there. So wherever you can find huge muscle, so for example, if you see in our body, we can find huge or strong muscle in our thigh areas. So in thigh areas, the bones is called femur bone. And in the femur bone, it is a very rough area is there in the back side of the femur. There's a very rough area. Means more rough area means more muscles can attach there. So that is the importance of a rough uh, presence of rough area in the bones. And here in the temporal area of the skull of the goiki bones, we can find a rough area where lots of temporal muscles can get attached. Now, cranial capacity. Cranial capacity means this the volume of the brain case, the brain area. How much area is there actually? It is called cranial capacity. For example, within this skull, how much area is there for the brain? How much volume actually? How much volume or how much space is there for the brain? This part is called cranial part, or you can say cranial capacity. How much volume or space is there inside? Cranial capacity, and it is very less. It is 76 to 90 cc. Cc means cranial capacity. That is a measurement for the. That is a standard measurement for the area within the brain skull. Within the skull. Okay, 76 to 90 cc. It is the cranial capacity, very less compared to the other apps. The area or the volume for the placement of the bone, sorry, not bone, for the placement of the brain, it is very less, 76 to 90 cc only. And if you talk about their behavior, social behavior, normally they're very gentle and pleasant. They're not going to disturb you. If you visit them, they are very gentle. They will be very pleasant also. Normally, what we can find them, they live in families along with parents and minor children also. They can be kept as pets also, but we should not keep them as a pet. But they can be kept as well. What it shows that they have a very gentle and pleasant behavior. So they are not very aggressive. If you talk about food, they eat almost all the omnivorous food items. For example, fruits, leaves, bugs, eggs, insect, small birds. All these things they when whatever they find on the branches of the trees, mostly they consume them as a food. And about schizial callositis, yesterday we talked about schizial callositis, and they possess schizial callositis. So the pad on the backside where they can sit is a pad of very thick skin that can be useful to sit down for a long time. So these gibbons, they possess the schizial callositis. That is another feature of gibbon. If you try to classify them into two groups, one is Hylobetida, one is Symphalangus. Overall, we can only mainly actually you can classify them into gibbon. But there is another relative that has come out recently. We call them simian. They look like this. They are not proper gibbon actually, but also we are trying to put them with the gibbon. Proper, if you talk about proper gibbon or proper Hylobetida, it is represented by gibbon only. But there is another species called simian. It also looks like gibbon only. So we're trying to keep them together. But we have put them simian into Symphalangus, in this group of Symphalangus. And this simian is found only in Sumatra Island of Indonesia. If you compare their body size, the simian is larger than gibbon. So this is all about gibbon. And if they ask you to write a note on Asiatic app or to write a note on gibbons, these are the things only you have to mention. Take some time, understand them, read them, and observe the diagrams, the photos, and you can write it by yourself only. You don't have to mug up all these things. You have to just practice 2-3 times, study it, read it, and try to write it by yourself. I'll send you the questions. You have to just write down the answers, and you'll get it how to remember these things. They're not very difficult. You have to just enjoy the part. And next is orangutan, the one of the most important apes, and they belong to Pongida family. Gibbon, they belong to Hylobetida family, and orangutan, they belong to Pongida family. So this orangutan, if you talk about their characteristics, there is only one species of orangutan you can find. They have a very bulky and heavy body. Here you can see in the picture only you can find them. They are very huge, bulky, and heavy. Normally they are arboreal. They like to live in on the trees only. See, bulky and heavy body, and they are found in Borneo and Sumatra. See again, orangutan, Asiatic apes. We have found two apes that are Asiatic. One is gibbon and one is orangutan. So in the examinations, if they ask you, you have to mention about gibbon and orangutan. But if you talk about chimpanzee and gorilla, they are African apes. So where we can find them, Borneo and Sumatra. These are the islands in Indonesia. If you talk about the height, they're very tall actually compared to this one gibbon. They're 5 feet tall. If they try to stand in erect posture, and the females are somewhat higher. The height of the females are somewhat higher than the male part. And the weight is again, it is much more greater than the gibbons. It is approximately 165 to 200 pounds. So it is pound, it is not kg. 1 kg is almost 0.4, 1 pound is equal to 0.4 kg approximately. So weight is around 165 to 200 pounds. And if we talk about their color, it is long coarse body hair. Their coarse body you can find. The body hair is coarse. It is not very smooth. You can observe it is not smooth. It is coarse hair. And the color is more reddish brown. They have a reddish brown color. To observe orangutans, they have coarse and reddish brown color. Their chest is barrel-like. Barrel-like means this is how barrel-like features look like. It seems like we have fitted one barrel-like structure within the stomach up to the chest area. So if you observe here also barrel-like, it looks like a barrel-like structure. And yeah, breasts are laterally situated near armpits. Then again, arms are long. You can see here the arms are very long. In all the apes, you can find the arms are very long, narrow also. Compared to the height, length, you can find the breadth is less, and the fingers are very long, elongated fingers. Thumb is again small, as we have already discussed why we need a small thumb, because it may be a barrier also sometimes if they try to jump from one tree to another. So so that they do not form any kind of barrier or hurdle while jumping from one branch to another. They normally have all the apps. They have normally small thumb compared to the other fingers, and all the digits they have flat nails. They do not have any claws. They have flat nails. If you talk about the forearm, forearm is much longer than the upper arm. This is the forearm and this is the upper arm. Forearm is much more longer than the upper arm. And they compare to the legs, legs are short. They have a very short leg compared to the arms. Here again, you can see the legs are short compared to the arms or the hand. And here again, the forearm is longer than the upper arm. Long and narrow foot. Great toe is opposable and very small. This is the great toe. In the feet, you can find great toe is very small and opposable. That is why they are very helpful for them to jump from one branch to another branch. They can hold. They can use their feet also to hold the branches. Like the second the diagram you can see, they're using their feet to hold the branches. If they have opposable toe, it can be helpful to hold the branches. Unlike in human beings, we cannot hold anything with our feet. So if you talk about their head is they have a very large head. Around their forehead, we can see, and the brain case is small. Overall, if you see the overall the face is very big, but the brain case is not very big. Overall, the face is very big, and orbit it is elliptical like this, elliptical in shape. Orbit means the place where the eyes are placed. If you talk about the cranial capacity, it is again around 416 cranial capacity. It is nearby. It is like chimpanzee and gorilla. 416 cranial capacity. If we talk about the nose is very small nose bones. We can see here their nose is very small compared to the whole face. We can find the nose is very small. Breeze is not elevated. Breeze means this part. This part is not elevated. It is depressed. Like ऊपर उठी अहा ना बस्तुটো এটা মই কম এলিভেটেড নহয় মানে আমাৰ জায়গা নাকবোৰ ওপৰ উঠি আহিছে এটো উঠি অহা নাই এটো এলিভেটেড হোৱা নাই এটো বহি আছে কিন্তু ডিপ্ৰেছ বুলি কম root is very narrow root মানে যখন নাকটো স্টার্ট হৈছে যখন নাকটো স্টার্ট হৈছে আমি তাকো root and here also the root is very narrow. You can see here the canine teeth. Jaw, again from the face itself we can say that face, see, the jaw is extremely large and projected forward. Why they need to have very big large jaw? Because they have to chew lots of hard substances like vegetables or these fruits, raw and very hard bulky food they have to consume or chew. That is why they need a very large jaw. And the canines is very long and task-like canines, strong canine, and that is interlock. Interlock means they have a space, but a canine teeth they have a space here. There is a gap there so that they can fit the canine. For the this is the upper canine, and for the lower canine again there will be space here so that they can there's a space gap there so that they can interlock. They can fit the canine teeth. It's will interlock. The canines can interlock. And if you talk about their lifestyle, it is arboreal. Of course, they like to live in the trees and the forest areas. They live in the trees and they build nest on the branches. They have their own nest on the branches, and they like to sleep on the branches only. They use their all the force, that is both feet and the hands. They walk on all the force. They when they come to ground. Again, their food habit, we can say mostly they consume fruits and leaves. Along with that, they also consume insect. So you can say they are omnivores. Next one is the chimpanzee. So I'm going to talk about chimpanzee. So I'd like to take a small break. I'll give you another link after this break.